people don't want us to know this information that could literally make you a lot of money. And it's typically the smallest detail that I'm going to show you in this video. I'll keep it very brief, to the point, and simple, not to make it overly complicated. Just understand, if you find one of these bills, I highly recommend understanding that there are people out there looking to take advantage of us who don't know this type of information. So this bill on the screen right here sold for $3,600. Now, the first important fact is this was graded by PMG at a 58. That means there is one fold at least somewhere on the bill. So guys, do not fold your bill whatsoever. Keep it very flat. Sometimes I recommend even keeping them in a book if you don't have anything for the time being, but don't forget about them, because I've found rare bills in old books before. So please don't forget where you put them or what page you put them on. But if you're familiar with my channel, you may already see what's going on this bill. Pause the video right now and leave a comment down below if you see what's happening here. Okay, so here we go. This is the main reason. This is a mismatched serial number error. If you look at the bill, there are two serial numbers at the top left and bottom right. One of them says 90508. One of them says 90598. It's that smallest detail that can mean the difference of thousands of dollars, because this one sold for $3,600. $7,200 for this $100 bill from 1928. Now, it's important to know that 1928 was the first year they started producing the small size Federal Reserve currency, just like this. Before this, they had what's called large size paper money, but more on that in a different video. This bill is also what collectors call a numeral type bill. Now, typically there will be a letter on the left hand side of the bill in that district seal, but this one has a number, the number 12. But the main reason is because this is a star note, but not your normal star note. It's really hard to see, but this is actually a double inverted star error. So the star was placed upside down. I'll show you a diagram right now. Even if you don't have an inverted star, if you have a bill that looks like this, it could be really valuable, because this one sold for $7,200. I'll spend just seconds here, but this bill sold for $90,000. This is an 1863 $100 bill. Now, this is a large size bill, and this was produced during the Confederate era of paper money. So a lot of these bills got destroyed, and when it comes to high denominations like this, only the extremely wealthy at the time were able to handle them, because money in general was very scarce back in the day. The moral of the story is on this bill is, if you have one, you need to make sure that you're not getting scammed and ripped off. We're all about educating here, so if you want to join and fight back against scammers, you can get your completely free ebook down below, learning about coins and paper money. But you don't have to do that. Just make sure that you know what you're doing. That way, if you come across a bill like this, you don't get taken, because that's the last thing I want for you guys. $8,812. Now, this bill right here is what collectors call a mule note. Now, remember earlier I said that typically you will see a large letter. The previous one had a number. This one has a letter K. So this is not a numeral type. But when you think of a real life mule, what do you think of? Well, a mule is essentially a combination of a donkey and a horse. That's essentially what a mule note is too. The front and the back of the bill should have never went together. Now, the question is, how do you know if you have one of these bills? Well, you're going to pay close attention to the front plate and the back plate number. Typically, there's going to be a back plate range that you need to look for, and or the size will be different. So the size of the back plate numbers will be different than the size of the front plate numbers. What you need to know is that mule notes are typically worth more money, and that's why this one sold for $8,812. So this $100 bill was produced for the series of 2017. Now, an important fact to know is that just because your bill says 2017 on it does not mean that's when it was actually produced. The reason for that is because when they're producing these plates that they use to print the bills, they don't want to have to update the printing plate every year, because that takes a lot of work and effort. So what they typically do is they'll put a date on these plates and then produce bills for years afterwards until the plates run out and they need to produce new plates. What you need to know on this bill is that it sold for $7,200, and here's why. So if you look at the back plate number, essentially what that means is that's the position that the plate is on for the sheet. A lot of that is internal information. Now, these modern bills have a harder time of having errors simply because the quality control process at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, where they produce these bills, has become a lot more automized with robots, so it's harder for mistakes to get by. But remember, the previous note I talked about a mule note. Now, there are none known, but if there was to be a mule note for these $100 bills that are modern, it would be incredibly valuable. Now, look at the front plate number. Before the large A, you're going to see a small FW. If you do not see an FW there, that means your bill is produced at the Washington, D.C. facility. If you see a small FW there, that means it was was produced at the Fort Worth facility. It's important to know that because if you have one from DC and Fort Worth with the same exact serial number, that is an error and it could be worth a lot of money. Now, depending on how many were produced at what facility will dictate the supply and demand for the specific bills. But the main reason why this bill sold for $7,200 is because it's a solid number 8 serial number. Now, the number 8 is generally seen as a lucky number in different countries, like in Asia. If you have a bill with a lot of 8s on it like this, it could be worth a ton of money, so keep it safe, don't fold it, because this bill with a solid number 8 serial number from 2017 sold for $7,200.